Let's dive into a truth that might rattle your core, but will set you free. If you believe that pouring endless love, attention, and care into a woman will make her love you more, you're already playing a losing game. Welcome to Stoic Love, where we don't shy away from the hard truths that shape stronger men. Today's topic hits like a thunderbolt. The more you overinvest in a woman, the less she respects you. Before you dismiss this as just another cynical take, hear me out. This isn't about shutting off your heart or disrespecting women. It's about mastering the unspoken dynamics of attraction, energy, and power. From a young age, society drills into us that giving more care, more effort, more proof of worth wins a woman's heart. But here's the brutal reality. That approach backfires. Overwhelming her with devotion doesn't earn respect. It gets you overlooked. It doesn't spark appreciation, it breeds complacency. Why? Because women aren't drawn to men who place them on pedestals. They're captivated by men they admire, men they have to reach for, men anchored in their own purpose, not orbiting hers. Here's the controversial kicker. When you care too much, too soon, it doesn't feel romantic, it feels desperate. It signals neediness, like you're trying to buy her affection with your attention. In this video, we're dismantling this myth and showing you how to command respect by owning your power. Ready to rewrite the rules of attraction? Stay locked in. Let's get started. Number 1. When caring too much kills the spark. There's a storm most men never see coming, and it's not betrayal, lies, or rejection. It's the slow erosion of respect that begins the moment you place a woman above your own sense of self. You call it love. You call it effort. But what if I told you she calls it weakness? This is where most relationships silently collapse, not because you didn't care enough, but because you cared too much. In all the wrong ways. You sacrificed your boundaries for approval, you replaced your mission with her validation, and in doing so, you traded your masculine gravity for neediness she instinctively distances from. Stoicism, unlike modern self-help fluff, doesn't teach you to love harder, it teaches you to love wiser. Seneca once said, "A man who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." When you suffer trying to win love by overgiving, you're bleeding energy in places that were never meant to nourish you. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, not on whether someone texts you back. Carl Jung would call this unconscious appeasement a shadow behavior, the hidden belief that you must perform, please, and prove in order to deserve love. But the truth is, the more you beg to be chosen, the less you appear worth choosing. So what happens when you realize this? You stop chasing approval, you stop overgiving, you stop shrinking, and instead, you return to your core where love flows, not from desperation, but from depth, from presence, from power. Because a woman does not fall for the man who puts her on a pedestal. She falls for the man who stands tall on his own. Now, speak out and comment below. I value myself more than anyone's approval. Number 2. Too available. You're training her to forget you exist. Imagine this. A man cancels his gym schedule, skips dinner with friends, and keeps his phone within arm's reach just to reply to her in under 5 seconds. Every message is a priority, every call an invitation to drop everything. At first, she smiles, but days later, she starts replying slower. Her tone becomes colder, and eventually, the man begins asking himself the question every too available guy asks, too late. What changed? Let me break it to you, nothing changed. She just stopped pretending. In Stoic terms, your time is the only currency you can never earn back. Yet many men give it away freely, assuming that constant presence builds love. It doesn't. It builds expectation, then entitlement, then boredom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. You weren't built to be a human notification bell. You were built to carry purpose, clarity, and silence that speaks louder than words." And from a Jungian view, This excessive availability comes from a shadow of emotional insecurity, the part of you that equates attention with acceptance. You're not present because you're confident. You're present because you're afraid of what happens when you're not. But here's the paradox. Women aren't drawn to men who orbit them. They're drawn to men who orbit something greater. When your schedule is filled with discipline, with passion, with a vision that you're not willing to interrupt for the sake of chasing a text, suddenly, your presence becomes rare. And what is rare becomes respected, desired, even missed. You don't need to disappear, but you do need to be missed, not because you're playing games, but because you're playing your game, your purpose. So stop being instantly available. Let her wonder where you are, what you're building, and why you no longer chase like you used to. Because when you return, not as a servant, but as a man of substance, she'll feel it deeply. Now, comment below. I protect my time, not waste it proving my worth. Number 3, she doesn't respect a man who bows to her every whim. Picture a man who's always agreeable. She says, jump. He asks, how high? She cancels plans last minute. He rearranges his schedule with a smile. She tests him with passive-aggressive remarks, and he swallows it, afraid to rock the boat. To him, that's love. To her, that's weakness. Here's the uncomfortable truth. No woman truly respects a man who doesn't have the courage to say no. The more you comply to everything without question, the more invisible your identity becomes in her eyes. You're not a partner, you're a placeholder, a doormat with a heartbeat. From a Stoic perspective, this is the antithesis of virtue. True strength is found in integrity, in the unwavering capacity to honor your principles regardless of emotion. As Seneca wrote, a man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary. And when you anticipate her moods, try to please her preemptively and avoid all friction. You're not avoiding suffering, you're prolonging it. Jungian psychology would describe this as a man possessed by his anima, the unconscious feminine within him that over-identifies with harmony at the expense of his boundaries. You become hyper-tuned to her needs, but disconnected from your own. You betray yourself to be liked. But here's the paradox again. Women don't fall for men who give them everything. They fall for men who give them something worth respecting. That, no, you're afraid to say, it's often the very thing that makes her take you seriously. When you stop trying to win her approval and start showing her your standards, something shifts. She may resist at first. She may even push harder, but deep down, she'll feel a strange, powerful emotion, respect, the kind that awakens attraction not just to your presence, but to your backbone. Because the truth is, love without respect dies slowly. But respect without love has the power to become something real, something she'll chase, something she'll protect. So stop begging to be liked. Show up as someone who doesn't negotiate his soul. She doesn't want a servant, she wants a king who knows when to stand still, even when the world asks him to kneel. Now, comment below. I say no to preserve my self-respect. Number 4, when you overgive, you devalue your own worth. Think of a man pouring water into a cup with no bottom. Day after day, he gives more, his time, his energy, his affection, only to watch it disappear. No gratitude, no reciprocation, just a silence, coldness, and eventually rejection. That's the fate of the man who gives too much, too soon, to someone who hasn't earned it. Giving is noble. Overgiving is desperation in disguise. You tell yourself it's love. You believe your generosity will win her over, but what you're really doing is broadcasting a message you don't even hear. I don't believe I'm enough on my own, so I'm going to earn your affection by sacrificing myself. From a Stoic lens, this is a form of internal chaos. Epictetus warned us not to tie our happiness to what lies beyond our control. When you overgive, hoping for love in return, you've already surrendered your peace. You are no longer the master of your emotions. You've become a slave to her validation. Carl Jung would argue that overgiving is a projection of your own unintegrated wounds. You might be trying to heal past rejections by giving more than necessary in the present, but the unconscious message is loud. Please love me so I can feel whole. But women don't want to complete you. They want to join someone who is already whole. The more you give without being asked, the less she feels the need to invest. Relationships, like economies, are governed by value exchange. If she gets everything without effort, she stops seeing your time and love as meaningful. You become emotionally cheap, abundant, but disposable. A man of value does not pour endlessly. He measures. He gives when it aligns with his mission and when it is reciprocated. He pauses to ask, is my energy being honored or is it being drained? Let her earn your kindness. Let her step forward sometimes. If she doesn't, that silence speaks volumes. Don't chase it. Don't fill it. Walk away with your dignity intact. The man who gives wisely is remembered. The man who gives blindly is forgotten. Now, speak out and comment below. I give with balance, not desperation. Number 5. Too much devotion kills. Respect, why distance builds desire. Picture a candle flame and your hand. Hold your hand too far, and you feel nothing. Get too close, and the flame burns out. True connection, like fire, needs space to breathe. The same is true in relationships. Too much devotion suffocates desire. Too little creates indifference. Many men mistake devotion for love. They think, if I show her how much I care, she'll love me more. But in truth, when you overdevote, constantly available, endlessly giving, abandoning your own needs, you don't inspire gratitude, you breed familiarity. And in relationships, familiarity without challenge is a slow death. In Stoic thought, the wise man lives in harmony with nature, and nature demands balance. If you're constantly orbiting around her world, what does that say about your own center of gravity? Marcus Aurelius reminds us, a man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. If your ambition becomes her approval, you've already surrendered your power. Jungian psychology goes deeper. Over-devotion often hides a shadow, the unconscious fear of being alone, unloved, or forgotten. So you overcompensate, you cling, but the more you give in fear, the more she withdraws in discomfort. Why? Because love must be a free choice, not a constant pressure. The irony is brutal. The more you pour, the more she pulls away. You stop going to the gym. You ignore your purpose. You say yes to everything. You cancel plans. You silence your truth. And one day, you realize you're no longer a man in her eyes. You're a utility, predictable, safe, easy to forget. What builds respect is distance, not emotional coldness, but the kind of space that says, I have a mission, I have a life. I care for you, but I won't abandon myself for you. She needs to see that you're grounded in your values, that you have boundaries, that you disappear when disrespected, that you don't beg for crumbs because you feast from your own table. So stop proving, stop clinging, let the distance speak. A man who stands firm in his purpose doesn't need to chase respect, he evokes it. Now, speak out and comment below. I live from purpose, not from pursuit. Number 6. When she tests you, it's a mirror of her doubt, not her love. You might think she's playing hard to get, testing your loyalty, making sure you really care, but in reality, most tests from women aren't about love, they're about respect. And when a woman starts testing, it often means she's no longer sure if you're the man she thought you were. This is the brutal truth. Women don't test men they already admire. They test men whose strength they doubt. It starts small, sarcastic remarks, passive-aggressive comments, canceling plans last minute just to see how you'll react. Most men crumble here. They get defensive, try to fix everything, or over-explain in doing so. They confirm her suspicion. You are reactive, not grounded. But Stoicism teaches something else entirely. Epictetus said, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. The Stoic man doesn't react emotionally to tests. He sees them as signals not of her malice, but of her uncertainty. And instead of panicking, he pauses. When you overreact to a test, you validate her fear that you need her approval to feel secure. When you calmly hold your boundary, you remind her, I want you, but I don't need to beg for your validation. In Jungian terms, being tested is a confrontation with your shadow, the part of you that's insecure, unproven, afraid of being left. And that's the moment where you must choose. Collapse into the child seeking acceptance, or rise as the man who owns his worth. Women don't respect men who fail these tests because it means the man's confidence was never real. It was conditional on being treated nicely. But when she sees you unshaken, still kind, still present, but unwavering in your standards, something shifts. Her testing ceases, her respect deepens, her attraction reignites. Because now she sees you not as someone reacting to her moods, but as someone she can emotionally trust. This is not about playing cold. It's about leading with calm firmness. So when she pushes, don't push back. Don't chase, stand still, let your values speak for you. And if she walks away from that, let her. Because the man who respects himself will always walk taller than the one who was desperate to be kept. Now, comment below, I stay grounded, even when tested. Number 7. Giving too much makes you look desperate, not devoted. There's a painful irony in relationships. The more you give without balance, the less you're valued. Many men believe that by being generous with time, love, and energy, they'll win a woman's heart. But in reality, overgiving without reciprocity doesn't build attraction, it kills it. Why? Because giving too much, too soon, signals one thing. You need her more than she needs you. You stop being the man she admires and start becoming the man who needs her validation to feel worthy. What begins as kindness quickly turns into emotional dependence, and what started as attraction turns into silent discomfort. Imagine you're constantly texting, helping her with everything, sacrificing your schedule for hers, yet she rarely initiates, rarely thanks you, and starts pulling away. You feel confused. Why is she cold when I give her everything? Because she doesn't have to earn anything, because the balance is gone. And without balance, there is no tension, no mystery, no mutual investment. From a Stoic lens, Epictetus would remind you, it's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. Overgiving is a reaction rooted in fear, fear of not being loved unless you prove yourself. But real worth doesn't need to be proven through sacrifice, it simply is. In Jungian psychology, this pattern is often the shadow of the wounded boy, the inner child who thinks love must be earned through endless giving. But the mature man, the integrated man, knows healthy love requires reciprocity, not overextension. Overgiving is dangerous because it's a silent erasure of your identity. You suppress your needs, you ignore your time, you stop living your mission just to serve hers. And slowly, she stops seeing you as a man with gravity. You become the background. The antidote is not coldness, it's clarity. It's giving with boundaries. You give when there is equal investment. You show care, but you don't drown in it. You say yes, but also no. And most importantly, you give from abundance, not desperation. Here's how to regain balance. Step back and evaluate. Is she giving at the same level I am? Create space. Stop initiating everything. Let her meet you halfway. Redirect your energy. Invest in your health, craft, and vision. When you do this, you'll notice a shift. If she truly values you, she'll rise to meet you. If not, then it was never real connection, only convenient consumption. Remember, what is freely given without effort is rarely cherished. But when your presence must be earned, it becomes priceless. Now speak out and comment below. I give from strength, not desperation. Number 8. Respect comes from distance, not from devotion. You were told that devotion would win her heart, that if you loved her unconditionally, gave her everything, and put her above all else, she'd see your worth. But reality speaks differently. The men who are overly devoted, who drop everything for her, always check in, always accommodate, aren't admired. They're taken for granted. Respect doesn't grow from total availability. It grows in the space where mystery, strength, and self-respect reside. Women aren't drawn to devotion that reeks of self-sacrifice. They're drawn to the man who knows his value, who doesn't need to be validated to feel complete. Picture this. You cancel your gym sessions to be free whenever she calls. You give up personal goals just to spend more time with her. You say yes to everything, thinking your loyalty will earn her love. But all she sees is a man without boundaries, a man who has lost himself in the process of winning her. From a Stoic standpoint, this is the erosion of the inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius warned, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." If your world revolves around her, you abandon your ambitions, and once your orbit is consumed by hers, she no longer sees your gravity. Jung would call this the collapse of individuation. The man who gives everything forgets who he is. He becomes an extension of her emotional needs, rather than a sovereign self. This loss of identity is not romantic, it's tragic. Devotion without distinction creates dependence, not desire. So, what creates respect? Distance, not coldness, but grounded separation. It's when you have your own life, your own mission, your own rhythm, and she feels lucky to be invited into it. You love her, yes, but you love yourself too much to abandon your core. True respect blooms when your presence is a privilege, not an expectation. Here's what to change. Reclaim your time, reintroduce your routines, prioritize your workouts, projects, friendships. Withhold over-accommodation. Stop adjusting your schedule just to fit hers. Let her adapt to your rhythm too. Hold your frame. When she challenges your independence, stay firm. You're not being distant, you're being you. When she sees that you won't abandon your path for her, she will either rise to match you or fall away. Either way, you keep your dignity. In love, closeness without balance leads to suffocation, but space creates appreciation. Now, speak out and comment below. My presence is earned, not demanded. Number 9. Stop chasing. Start living from value. Every time you chase her attention, every time you stretch yourself just to be noticed, you tell the world one thing: her approval matters more than my essence. And that belief, subtle, unspoken, is what drains your power. The truth is, most men never lose women because they were not nice enough or didn't try hard enough. They lose them because they abandoned themselves in the process. This is the core wound. We were taught that love is something to earn, that if we give more, sacrifice more, and prove more, we will finally be chosen. But love, when it's real, flows toward strength, not toward surrender. A woman will never respect the man who gives up his self-worth to win her heart, because deep down, she wants to feel that he doesn't need her to be whole. This is why Stoicism matters. Marcus Aurelius taught that your character is your fate, not your charm, not your willingness to please, not your sacrifice, your character. And character comes from living rooted in value, not in validation. Jung, too, warned about the man who loses himself in pursuit of another. That man suppresses his shadow, his hunger, his power, his boundaries, and becomes a persona molded for approval. But the authentic man, he integrates both his strength and sensitivity and lives not to be chosen, but to choose. So what do you do now? You stop chasing, not because you're angry, not to manipulate, but because chasing is the language of desperation, and you've outgrown that dialect. You return to your sumen, your mission. You rebuild your routine. You protect your focus. You reestablish your boundaries. You become the kind of man who does not chase love, but attracts it through essence. Here's how. Audit your energy. Where are you overinvesting? Who's getting effort that hasn't been earned? Pull back to your center. Take a break from initiating. Let silence reveal who values your presence. Create a new standard. From now on, your attention is not free. It is earned through mutual respect, effort, and consistency. The man of substance is not heartless. He is centered. And because of that, Love that finds him must be real. It must meet his standard. Remember this. Walking away from what disrespects you is not loss, it's alignment. So walk, not in anger, but in strength. Because the man who knows his value never needs to chase. He becomes the gravity that draws everything good toward him. Now, comment below. I no longer chase, I attract through value. Pouring your heart into her without demanding respect isn't noble, it's a surrender of your strength. It's time to wake up. True respect isn't won through endless devotion. It's forged by setting unshakable boundaries, living boldly for your own purpose, and showing the world you're a man who won't be taken for granted. Sacrifice your identity to please her, and you'll only push her further away. Choose yourself and watch the dynamic shift. I want to hear your story. Have you ever fallen into the trap of giving too much, only to lose yourself? How did you break free, or are you still fighting? To drop it in the comments. Raw and real, your experience could be the spark that inspires another man to rise. I'm reading every single one and reaching out to connect personally. This isn't just a video, it's a call to build a brotherhood of men, leveling up in relationships and life. Don't just watch, join the Man of Substance movement. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell to stay in the fight. Share your lessons, your wins, your struggles. Let's grow stronger together. You're not here to chase, you're here to lead. Step up, own your worth, and I'll see you in the next one.